Hello everybody, it's Foxy speaking and welcome to another episode of Foxy's Fun Inspirational Chats. And today I will be your host. And in this episode, this is an episode about a little young cat. A cat who liked sports. Which is rather unusual for a cat, because most cats don't normally play sports. But this young cat, his name was Kenneth. Kenneth the cat was a cat who liked sports. The sports he liked to watch, whether it's on the television or his owners, was the game of tennis. He was a tennis boy. Because every time, say, a tennis ball hit the tennis net in his family's home garden, he would always just run up to the ball and just grab hold of it, and then would just play with the tennis ball. Well, he thought he liked the sports when in fact his owners thought he had an affinity for playing with tennis balls. But sometimes it could prove annoying for his owners. So his owners had to put some strict boundaries at times. Well, they weren't necessarily strict boundaries, but sometimes his owners would have to get out an emergency pair of tennis balls if he wouldn't give back a tennis ball. So in that case, Kenneth the little cat, he was a black and white cat, would just play with the tennis ball. And whilst he was playing with the tennis ball, his owners would get the emergency supply of tennis balls so that they could continue with the tennis game, whilst Kenneth would play with the tennis ball that he loved, that he just loved and wouldn't let out of his sight. And whenever it came to the tennis on the television, every time he'd hear the word tennis, Kenneth would just go running into the living room and leap into one of the living room armchairs, snuggle himself on one of the arms of the armchairs or the sofas, and just watch a tennis game with his owners. Though he could not play the game of tennis himself, he just loved the game, watching the game. But the thing that he loved most of all was playing with tennis balls. He was quite an unusual little kitten. Well, he was quite an unusual little cat, Kenneth was. Unusual that he thought he was playing the game of tennis, when in fact all he'd do was just play with a tennis ball and watch tennis on the television. Sometimes the tennis game was played before tea time, either physically or a big tennis game on the television. But bedtime was the time that Kenneth didn't always like very much, because it meant that he couldn't play with a tennis ball. What it meant was that because he couldn't play tennis out in the garden, the tennis ball in the garden, not the game of tennis itself, he would just have to sleep in bed. But because he would not sleep unless there was a tennis ball beside him, he could not sleep on his owner's bed, because his owners didn't want tennis balls on their bed at night. So instead, his owners some time ago purchased a thatched basket, a basket made from thatch, with a few cushions and a couple of tennis balls accompanying it. And as a result of them doing that, Kenneth would sleep in his basket, and he would just happily sleep there every night because he was accompanied by a couple of tennis balls. He wouldn't know what to do without sleeping with a tennis ball. Unusual as it is, Kenneth the cat, he was a good cat, but was rather strange because of his love and affinity for tennis balls. And that, so far, concludes the story of Kenneth the Cat and his tennis ball affinity. The end. Thanks all everybody for watching this rather short story, as it may so seem, but I thought one would like it anyway. Please do let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, and I shall certainly see you in the very next video. Ta-ta for now, goodbye. Another time, and may happiness be knocking on your doorstep.